This is A Strategist, episode 1848H. My name is Zane Velge. With me, as always, well, he's not here, Carter. I was about to say it, because I go with his name first, but you know what? We don't care. Corey Hogan is not here, but guess who is? Stephen Carter. Guy, how are you doing? Guy?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well. My feet are cold. And I'm sorry I left you hanging there. I forgot to press the record button.
It was a pregnant pause, as they say.
Once I figured it out, though, things went really much better. And you were a pro. You muscled through.
People don't know this, but we do a lot of the preamble talk really to help Corey with his nerves. He's extremely nervous when it comes to doing this, and we don't actually need a lot of preamble talk between you and I, because a lot is left unsaid and a lot is very much left aligned.
Basically,
so Carter,
we don't want to know about each other's family.
Well, we just know. We just know about each other's family. Corey's really on the outside looking in. Needs
How's
a lot
Sophie
of that preamble.
doing? Does he ask for me?
Why are you doxing my son publicly? What's going on, Carter?
I'm not putting a picture of him up or anything like that.
Oh, you know what? We should. That'd be nice.
He'd be so cute.
That'd be nice. You know, I like.
You know what?
Editor,
can you just throw up a picture of a random child? Just throw up a picture of a random child. That'd be great. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you. And just like
your child.
No, I appreciate it. I reversed course very quickly from
Jesus Christ. I care about your kid, and this is the way you treat me.
They call that heterodox. That's what they do. That's what the conservatives are using these days. You know this term? I think that's what it is.
No.
It's a JD Vance term. By the way, did you see JD Vance just fucking rip a hole into Europe or try his level best with the limited skill set he has to do so?
Yeah, I mean, it's a limited skill set, and I'm not sure that it actually succeeded, but I appreciate his effort.
Carter, like I said, we don't need the preamble talk. We can get right into it.
Let's do a show.
Here's the thing. One of the things I admire about you, and I have for a long time, is that unlike Corey, who gives very long and cogent analysis, he often comes to the wrong conclusions. You, on the other hand, Stephen Carter, you're not one for the analysis. You feel political strategy in your bones, in your gut. And so what I want to do is I want to race through or run through as many as we can of strategic things happening right now. I'm going to give you strategic statements, and you're going to tell me whether they're right or they're wrong, and you're going to justify a bit why, but you're going to give me where the Stephen Carter political strategy gut is. And I say this may sound like a shtick, and like everything on the show, it is. But I do think this is one of your superpowers. I do think this is one of the things you have a keen and unique ability to do, is tell us which direction to go. Is it left or is it right? Why? You've got it very quickly. You don't need a lot of time to think it through. Often you don't think it through.
Often I don't think at all, Zane.
Unlike Corey, who overthinks it and then ends up at the wrong conclusion most of the time.
And he starts talking, and it takes 6-7 minutes for him to get to his point.
People think I'm the reason this show is long. Go back, study the game tape, people. It's fucking Corey Hogan, okay?
No, it's both of you. I speak approximately 14% of the time. Not that anybody's keeping track. No one is. This is big for me because I'm going to get all the way up to 34% today.
Carter, here's what I want to do. It's called the Stephen Carter on the spot. You're going to give me the on the spot answer to each of these things. Okay? And I'm going to just run them by. And as soon as I'm done, we're going to end this episode because people are going to get more value out of that than they do a normal episode. In fact, we may permanently banish Corey after this.
Well, we'd split the money 2 ways. Right? I'd still get my 60 and then you get 40, which would be pretty good for you.
It's an upgrade from where I'm at right now, which is 4.
It is. It's a big upgrade. You're welcome.
Carter, here's the first one.
Okay.
Pierre Poilievre had a big rally this weekend. It was his Canada First rally. He also introduced this broader concept of Canada First. And I should say he also reintroduced Axe the Tax. Here's my strategic statement to you. Pierre Poilievre should axe the tax. It's over, bud. Get rid of it. It's done. Carter?
He has to walk away from it. And it's not just that. He has to walk away from the idea of Canada First. The man only knows how to play one game. And because he only knows how to play one game, he's walking right into the trap that the Carney and Liberal people are putting forward. Even the Liberal Party of Canada, not noted for their spectacular communication skills, have produced a video that's going after, Pierre Poilievre in such a fashion that we've never seen before out of this group of communicators, because it's one note and it doesn't recognize the time. The ability to take Canada first and play it against America first, and to show all the different times that he said that Canada is broken. I mean, there's some really great opportunities for the Liberals and great opportunities for the Mark Carney campaign. And Pierre Poilievre's just walking right into it. And he just doesn't know how to play a different game. And that's what I love. I love it when there's a political operative on the field that doesn't know when it's time to turn the page and to actually take a different page out of the strategic book.
So let me push back a bit. To him, Canada First was turning of the page. No?
Right. For him, turning the page is like taking one of those books that you read to Sufi, and it's got all those thick pages with no words on it. That's how he's turning the page, because he's working at a juvenile level. And this is no longer juvenile games. This is now for all the marbles. And Pierre Poilievre just frankly doesn't know how to play at this level. He knew how to beat Trudeau. That was easy. Now he's got to try and beat Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, and the Liberal Party.
Are you saying that's like a taller task? Like, is that what you're like talking about here?
Right now it appears to be, because the times have changed. Donald Trump took office. Everything shifted. The national anthem's being booed. People are buying Canadian. People are, wanting to bring back the I Am Canadian television ads. The zeitgeist has shifted. And once that zeitgeist shifts, you have to be able to shift with it, or you're going to be left behind. And Pierre Poilievre he's desperate. He's desperate to make the old hits play again. It's like listening to the Bare Naked Ladies, frankly.
Wait, so tell me if this statement is correct. Axe Attacks got Pierre Poilievre to where he is now. First place, shit ton of money, credentials, and credibility to be able to be in the pole position. But it's not going to get him to what the finish line seems to be with the new emerge. Is that a fair statement in your mind? Because my strategic question, you should axe Attacks. You're saying axe that, Zane, axe that. But in addition to that, get rid of Canada First, which he's just recently, that is his rebrand effort.
Right. The new paradigm in which he's going to be governed and evaluated is his maturity and his capacity to deal with Donald Trump. And you're not going to be able to deal with Donald Trump using a 3-word slogan. I mean, Donald Trump only responds to strength, and Pierre Poilievre is not strong.
I'm going to throw 2 liberal strategic statements out at you, and you tell me why they're right or wrong, okay?
Okay.
I'll do them one after the other. Maybe I'll just go with this one first. Liberals should do and put as much energy as they can to having audio and video and text statements of Pierre Poilievre saying Canada feels broken over and over again. They should take that out from the archives. Not too long ago, folks. We're talking about mere weeks and months ago. That was part of the Pierre Poilievre lexicon. It's part of the ad that made him famous and catapulted him 2 summers ago. Liberals should take that, dust it off, and make sure Canadians understand what Pierre Poilievre feels of this country. Is that right or wrong? Is that the right strategic thing to do, Stephen Carter?
It's the right decision, because right now Canadians are feeling a pride in their country that we haven't felt for a while. And frankly, we're against anybody who's picking on us right now. And Pierre Poilievre was picking on us. Pierre Poilievre was hitting us when we were down instead of trying to lift us when we're down. And he doesn't know how to lift. This is the right strategy for the Liberals. The Liberals should be doing this as much as possible, using his words against him, using his tone against him, using the way he looks, the way he sounds against him. Because
what do you mean by the
working.
last 2 things? Tone and
the way he sounds. Like, take a look at it's such disgust in his voice. Canada is broken. It is a disgust. It's
almost like this place sucks, right? Like this place is the fucking worst.
Right? Yeah. Like it's like my parents when they walked into our house after I threw that party in high school. This place is disgusting. This house is broken. We're never going to be able to sell it. I can't believe you did this. That was that's how he feels. And he feels like he's disapproving of our ways, disapproving of who we are. And we were buying it for 2 years. We were like being pushed down and we were buying it. And then another bully came along and we saw how to actually deal with that bully. And that's to push back. And all Pierre Poilievre knows how to do is to be that bully that says it's broken. Well, God damn it. We're not interested in who's going to, in someone telling us it's broken. We're interested in someone telling us how to fix it.
The beauty of this segment is that we don't have to get necessarily deep because I feel like you've got a lot of these answers at the tip of your tongue. Liberal risk here. Like if you were just like sitting there and you're like, fuck it, this is like a slam dunk. This guy for the last 3 years has said this country's broken. This is now time to unite behind the flag. What would be the risk that you'd bring up in the room of this strategy? Or at least the cautionary note, because I know you're for it, but there's also guardrails and cautionary notes that you'd want to probably add to your team if this is the direction they're going.
Don't overcommit. Be prepared to turn the page. Donald
unlike
Trump
him.
is unlike him. Everything
Right.
is coming out at us, and Donald Trump is he's making us feel one way today, but he can make us feel another way tomorrow, right? We don't know how we're going to feel because we are being manipulated and bullied and pushed and shoved by another person, by another entity. And how that's going to make us feel 3 weeks from now is different than how it makes us feel today. So run those ads today, but be prepared that 3 weeks from now, you're going to need very different creative. That's not necessarily going to be about drawing the contrast or drawing the comparison between Pierre Poilievre and Donald Trump. I mean, you've got to be willing and able to be flexible and to recognize the timeliness of the message structure.
So maybe you'll agree with this next statement too, because this is the second one about the Liberals. For the longest time, we've said that the comparison towards Trump, and the we, I mean the collective we, the pundit class, the political class, that it's not necessarily wise to just call the person you're running against if they wear the conservative jersey Trump or Trump-like.
No, I think this is the beauty of it.
But the statement is this moment is different for the Liberals, and they should connect Pierre Poilievre directly to Trump. Agree or disagree with that statement, or refine it, optimize it for me?
I disagree with the statement because actually what they're doing with Pierre Poilievre isn't comparing him to Trump. They're not. Well,
can you inform people what they're doing? Because I actually don't have a good sense of it either. Tell me what they're doing right now.
What I think that they're doing is, they're showing, not telling. How often have I said show, don't tell in this conversation, right? Always show, don't tell. Pierre Poilievre is the Trump of Canada, is telling. Putting Pierre Poilievre saying that Canada is broken, saying that Canada first, immediately before Trump says America first. Imitation is a form of flattery. I mean, my God, those ads were devastating, not because they said he was Trump, not because they implied that he's got Trump-like tendencies, not because they name called him and called him a fascist or, any of the number of things that the left has been known to do to the right. And the right to the left. This instead was just simply showing how it was happening, showing how it was all unfolding in real time, showing his words, comparing them to Donald Trump's words, and it was a time where we're willing to listen. And this is where it comes back to kind of your second point in that, Zane, which is the timeliness of this particular message. When someone is willing to hear something, you have to say it, right? This goes back to Nenshi, right? Campaigning where people live or where people are. Everybody thought, they're on social media, ergo we're campaigning on social media. No, right. We campaigned where people were. We talked to them with the language that they wanted to hear at the time that they wanted to hear it. Sometimes people don't want long-winded explanations. Sometimes they do want long-winded explanations. Sometimes they want the 6-word headline. Sometimes they want the 20-second summary. That is how you communicate with people. This is where I think, frankly, the Liberals have found, either by luck or skill, I'm not sure which, they have found that people are wanting to listen to their voices now, and that has changed the entire paradigm.
So in that sense, though, Carter, like, are you suggesting that there is further appetite for showing the Poilievre-Trump comparisons that many have written off and said this is not sufficient enough? This is not strategic enough. This is not going to meet the moment. No one wants to hear this. You think there is? And tell me about how you assess the window. If you agree that there's an appetite, which I hear you saying, how big, how wide, how narrow is this window? How do you figure out when people have reached their... Because it's not like natural convention where people want to be like, my local domestic politician is like Trump. It's almost like the comedic equivalent of talking about airport and airline jokes, right? Everyone's got one. Everyone's got a comparison. They're relatively hacky, right? So how do you assess what the strategic window here is if you're the Liberals or the NDP or a third party group wanting to take a strip off of Pierre Poilievre?
The window is as long as you can show and not tell. The window is as long as that occurs. Like, for example, if instead you start talking, I'm going to pick up on your airline thing because that gives me an opportunity. And, I always jump on these opportunities, even if I sound like a hack to you. And
well, you are a hack. That's
the rest of the
purpose.
listeners love this shit. But the Donald Trump fired FAA workers this week, right?
Yeah.
Just say, if Pierre Poilievre wins, he's going to fire or decimate our airline industry as well by doing the exact same thing that Trump did. That's weak. That doesn't have any basis in reality. That's just saying, look, he's just like this other guy. He's just like Donald Trump. Well, that's ridiculous. That's not going to fly. But when you've got the words and you can actually show how he's behaving in a similar way, like I would probably show Donald Trump saying the exact same phrase over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then just show the axe the tax. Like there's just, there's great opportunities to start to show axe the tax,
campaigning and sloganeering, right?
Yeah.
Like that sort of vibe, right.
What's the answer? What's the answer, not the slogan, right? Donald Trump doesn't have an answer. Pierre Poilievre doesn't have an answer. You can show that. You don't have to tell that. And I think that's where, as long as they can show it, then they can make the comparison. As soon as they have to start telling it, then I think they're really in trouble.
Carter, there's new polling out. This is one of the few polls I've seen about the Liberal leadership race. It says ultimately that the race is closer than the Carney coronation that seems to be conveyed right now, at least sentimentally amongst organizers and the media at large.
It's a Main Street poll, right?
Yes, that's the Main Street poll I'm alluding to. Yeah, it's the Main Street poll I'm alluding to.
I'm not going to break down why that is, why that's something I'm worried about. I'm not going to break that down.
Here's the thing. Here's my strategic statement. Tell me if you agree with it, disagree it, and how to optimize it. Conservatives should stop acting like Carney is the heir apparent.
Conservatives should pay a hell of a lot less attention to the Liberal leadership race and start paying a hell of a lot more attention to what their answer to the question, what are you going to do for me, is. Because axing the tax isn't the answer to the question anymore. So what are you going to do for this country? What are you going to do to help lift us up should be what they're focused on, not trying to tear down Carney. The problem is that Jenny Byrne and Pierre Poilievre have this capacity to destroy. Right?
An unbelievable laser-like singular target, and arguably that job has been completed.
Some of the best destruction communications in the world, right? Like they are some of the best communicators at that thing, but they don't have the legs to destroy Mark Carney right now. They don't have the legs to destroy Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland and Karina Gould. If Main Street's correct, and it is a closer race than anybody thinks it is.
Yes.
First of all, we didn't see any riding by riding information, and this
was not weighted. It was right.
It's a point race, right? So, very, very concerned about that particular information. But let's say, just for shits and giggles, that they're correct. It means that any one of the three front runners could wind up winning this thing. This means that if you're Pierre Poilievre, you should be doing your background research to get ready to destroy them in the 3 weeks you're going to have between them getting elected and the federal election being called. Don't try and destroy them in the midst of their leadership campaign when they're too strong. It's like they've cast a spell around themselves and they just can't be beaten. And yeah, I'm reading fantasy right now. Why do you ask?
What are you reading? What are you reading?
A book.
Okay. It's pretty good. Book.
It's pretty good. It's like Harry Potter, but different.
Old school book.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm getting ready. I want to read Sufi, the Harry Potter series.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes.
I have to wait probably 4 more years, 6 more years.
He's pretty advanced. He's pretty good. I think you can start right now.
Excellent. I'm coming over tonight.
Carter, listen, can I tell you something? We have rattled off, I don't know how many, but more than we would have if Corey Hogan were here. I just want to let the audience know that. And I want to let you know that you are. And what value would we have gotten?
Don't use this as an excuse to finish it in the 20-minute mark. People will lose their shit if we just do 20 minutes.
You know what? I wasn't going to, but now I want to desperately.
No, you're not allowed to. People will lose their shit.
You know what we should do for the other 30? We should
that?
actually have you read Harry Potter. Just have you read excerpts
it'd be so good. It'd be so good.
Almost like biblical text.
Get sued.
You don't have a religion, so maybe this could be it. You could just read it as a biblical text.
It is my biblical text. That is how I do it.
Thoughts on J.K. Rowling, Carter? While we're on the topic.
Oh, thank you, Zane. While we're at it, would you like to see me juggle fire torches and not get burned? No, I'm not gonna break that down.
Carter, we've gone through so many topics. So much value has been given to people who've missed our episodes. Arguably more value than they would have gotten over 3 episodes that included Corey. That's what I say. Well, and I know that's what you're going to say right now, too.
I'll tell you something. The Corey and Hogan, the Carter and Hogan episodes, well loved. Well loved. Well loved. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the Zane and Carter episodes are well loved too. Basically, it's any episode I'm in, people love.
Let me tell you this. I've got about 6 more of these things. You want to hammer out 6 more? Or do you need a break?
Why don't we get a word from our sponsor, and then we'll come back with and then we'll continue.
What do you mean a word from our sponsor? Have you not heard?
Everything's upside down right now.
That's exactly where I was going. Oh, it's too early, isn't it?
You want to talk about a hack airport joke? There it is, baby.
There you go. Hack airline material. Carter, let's go here.
Okay.
This is a big one, actually. This one might take us a few minutes. Okay. Actually, there's 2 Carney ones I want to go with, and I'll go with the big one second.
Oh, good. Carney. That's going to be good for me.
Carper. That's right, Carper. Yeah. Carper, which is the Carney and Carter and Harper.
That's nice.
Trifecta. Yeah, that's Carper. Carney's Stephen Harper brag that Harper asked me to be finance minister is a solid comms choice by Mark Carney. Yes, no, optimize it for me. So for the context, Rosemary Barton's Sunday morning show, Carney mentions that, amongst other things, he's been asked to serve publicly before, including, and surprisingly to many, myself included, by one Stephen Harper to be finance minister. And Carney mentioned a date that was, I believe, 2012, that he was asked to do that. It's a solid brag. It's a solid comms strategy. It's a solid brag. Carter, it's a thing that's already happened, so you're not going to do the campaign much damage by giving your assessment on it. But it's a solid brag by Mark Carney. Yes, no, optimize.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I don't like the idea of walking away from public service when being asked. And I feel that this is the problem with the Carney story. And I love the Carney story. I think the Carney story is super strong. I think it's really solid. But if you were to point to a weakness to it, it has been that he has been asked to serve and hasn't served. He has been asked to serve a number of times. Now, one could argue that serving as the Bank of Canada governor is public service. One could argue that serving as the Bank of England governor is public service. And I'm sure that Mark Carney would make that argument if he was sitting here. But it's not being the finance minister of an elected government.
You mean it's like finance minister is different? That's a different type of service, you would argue.
I think that's why do
you think that?
Bar.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that the Bank of Canada governor versus front bench of a political party, why is that different levels of service?
Well, I think that one is accountable and the other's not as accountable, right? Like you get a 5-year appointment to those Bank of England, Bank of Canada appointments. You're not really accountable to the people. And when you're the finance minister of the government of Canada, you are accountable to the people. When you're running to become the prime minister of the country, you're accountable to the people. And I would really like to see Mark Carney take a position of public accountability to the people. And I think that he has through his launch speech. I think he did through, he is showing that he wants to be that. But I don't think that humble bragging about how you've been invited by every prime minister since the early 2000s to be a finance minister, because there's only been 2. Saying, do you see what I did there?
I see, and I do see what you did there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But it falls flat for me.
It falls flat for you because of what it says about his lack of commitment, which is what I hear you say, or does it fall flat for you because it opens up a line of questioning where conservatives are like, well, technically he didn't ask you, Harper could come out. It kind of creates its own sub-narrative where it undermines credibility. Like, what do you think of that sort of story as related to putting out this anecdote by Carney on national television?
Well, it is dangerous, isn't it? Like when someone
And I don't
asks
know
you-
where this goes. I have no idea where this bouncing
when
ball
someone
goes,
asks
right?
you-
Yeah.
I had the hottest girl in grade 12 asked me to go to the grad with her.
Sure.
I said no. Right.
Yeah.
But I said no. That probably isn't a true story. I would imagine he's got receipts. Otherwise he wouldn't have said it. But it's a little bit risky calling Harper down on your head when you're kicking the shit out of Pierre Poilievre so dramatically. I'm not sure I would have done it. I just don't like it. It doesn't work for me.
Here's a simpler statement, but perhaps more to unpack. Carney, as soon as he wins, assuming he does, should call a snap election based on his plan to battle Trump on tariffs.
He should call a snap election.
Based on, and do you agree with the second part of the statement? Based on as a referendum on his tariff plan against Trump? Or position it as much as he can or best as he can on that question?
I struggle with this. Why should we ever call an election? What's the point of calling an election? I mean, obviously it's to give people their due. It's to give them their opportunity to speak and to choose. But this idea that we have elections on major issues, and that the major issue is in fact defining, ultimately it's a personality and popularity contest most of the time. So, I mean, outside of the free trade election in good God, when was that? 1988?
This is the pre-NAFTA you're talking about.
Yeah. Outside of that, when was the last time we had an election that we thought, it was a single issue election and it really turned on that?
To your point, they never are, right? Like they never or rarely are.
So when we say we're going to get a mandate, we're going to go get a mandate to do these
for this
things.
thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go get a mandate to go do this.
It's not how it actually works. I get it.
I'm like, yeah, you can get a mandate. You can get a mandate to do the things but you're getting a mandate because of trust. You're getting a mandate because people want your style of thinking. It's larger than any specific issue, and it fits more within a brand structure. And that brand is what people are buying at that moment. And sometimes the brand can last 10 years, and sometimes the brand can last 20 years. Sometimes the brand only lasts 3 or 4 years. But in the case of Carney, he should call an early election because his brand is ridiculously strong, and that's why.
Or is it just untested enough that he can get away with an extra 30 days if there's something in the window, such as a plan on tariffs and wrapping himself up in the flag and looking like the adult in the room? He just skates by it for another 30 days. This is no slight against Carney. There's no slight against Carney, but this is perhaps part of the calculation. It's not that his brand is strong. I just think his brand is untested.
You walk into the grocery store, there's new Coke, you pick up new Coke, you buy the new Coke and you drink the new Coke and you're like, that wasn't that bad. Then everybody else starts complaining about it and you're like, yeah, I didn't like it either. Right? Like the truth of the matter is when the new brand is appearing, people get excited about the new brand and they buy the new brand. That's why you see companies rebrand themselves all the time, right? Alberta Government Telephones is gone. It's TELUS. TELUS is an infinitely better brand. It's the same as it was, except for now it's got everything else involved. But nonetheless, like it's basically when you got brand opportunity and you've got brand capacity, you take advantage of it. And that's what Doug Ford did. And that's what Mark Carney should do. Or frankly, Chrystia Freeland. Or frankly, Karina Gould. Whoever wins the leadership should run, don't walk to an election.
Run into an election. But I still want to spend a bit more time testing the tariff idea. Because one of the reasons Carney or Gould or Freeland have a chance is because Trump is now part of the potential ballot box question, at least for a growing crop of Canadians. I'm not going to say a majority of Canadians, but it's enough to have Pierre Poilievre pivot his strategy and do Canada First rallies and make axe to tax secondary. I know you've argued both of those should go away, but it's enough to get the leader of the opposition who's been on the same track to respond and read the room. And so one of the things that Carney or any of the leadership candidates that emerge would be doing is reading the room. Why not try to, in that moment of those 30 days, explicitly say, this is about Trump. Tariffs are a Trump question. Why not say that this is my plan against Trump? In case something happens, if something happens, to ensure that the campaign question that you feel like is advantageous to you still remains part of the conversation 30 days later, which can be weeks in politics, as we have talked about in the past.
But this is exactly my point. It can be weeks. Like we're looking at 10, 15 weeks till an election, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it's just so we're sitting mid-March. Yeah, like can we talk about the timelines a bit? Just if you're okay with it. So we sit here.
Sure,
like
we can talk about the timelines.
Mid-Feb. He or more than likely Mark Carney.
Someone wins.
Someone will be.
Someone wins
right?
On March the 8th, right?
9th.
Is that right?
9th or 8th, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens there on in? So you're thinking like that's 3 weeks from now, by the way.
Right. So you got to form a cabinet.
Yeah.
Right? You got to put a new spin on government. You form a cabinet. You do something, and then 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, sometime before the proroguement is over. No, the prorogation. Why do I always say I don't know. Prorogation is over. I know, it's a better word. Yeah.
Or it's a proroguement from Corey Hogan. That's what we'll call it.
Oh, that's really good. I gotta just go write that down.
Would it be of or from? We'll do both. We'll do proroguement of from Corey Hogan. That's good. He'll like that. He'll be really happy with that. Yeah,
but you call the election before the prorogation is over, and we have an election sometime late April, early May, mid-May.
Yeah.
Right?
That's where we land.
That's where this unfolds. And it doesn't matter if it's Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, Karina Gould, Frank Bayless, Ruby Dalla, whoever gets there, this could happen.
It's going to be Ruby.
Ruby Dalla is going to come in.
I'm not.
Frank Bayless lose to Ruby Dalla? That's the big question.
Oh, I'll talk about roll-ups in a second, Carter. Give me a bit. I'm not trying to be dense on purpose. I still don't understand why you don't run against Trump versus what you're saying, which is run on brand.
Gone. There's only one tariff. There's only one tariff right now. And the tariffs could be gone on March the 4th, right? March the 4th, Donald Trump comes back and says, I don't need to tax them. I don't need to put a tariff on them because they're our great friends now.
Good. Okay, good.
Right?
So he won't fucking say the great friends part. But he's talking about 51st state over and over again. Why not make it something adjacent to tariffs? My plan against Trump, my plan against why not explicitly say, this is my, we both agree on snap election. Why not explicitly say that I want to run a ballot box question against that guy?
Against Trump?
Yes, against the threat that is annexation, the threat that is whatever. Yeah, let's listen.
Throw away the word tariff, and I'm with you. I don't know where tariffs are going to be in 30 days. I don't know where
you're not opposed to running against Trump.
I'm not opposed to running against Trump at all. We need someone who can stand up to
explicitly saying that? Explicitly saying that?
I would explicitly say it. How many days are federal elections? 36 days or something like that?
I thought it was 28, but you might be right. I'm I think
it's
about
36, I think.
Yeah.
It's 28 for provincial.
You're adding another 8. You're right.
Yeah. So, 36 days of standing up and saying this election's about who can deal with Donald Trump is probably, and saying it explicitly, is probably the wise way of going into this election.
Okay, I'm going to leave that there. Go to a slightly similar question, but that explores another angle of this, another strategic statement. So both Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney kind of gave their plans against Trump, against tariffs, and gave their rhetorical sort of plans, right? Less so concrete, here's what I'm going to do, here's what the counter tariffs look like, here's what's none of that. But they both kind of gave their rhetoric. They said, here's what we're going to secure, here's what we're going to do, here's what's on the table. They both talked about in different ways. We'd be open to feeling the maximum amount of pain because this is what it takes to defend the country. We will never be a 51st state, right? Similar on that vibe. It's not like there's divergence there. Here's my strategic statement. If Trump and tariffs in Canada and wrapping ourselves up in the flag, those three things, Trump, tariffs, Canada, wrapping ourselves up in the flag. if those become the ballot box questions, or a cocktail of the ballot box questions, tie goes to the Liberals, which means that if the rhetoric is the same, the tie on that goes to the Liberals. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that, Optimizer?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I'm not sure that would have been the case, obviously, a month and a half ago. I was talking with a colleague today, and we were talking about how, a year ago, everybody wanted, we thought it was too late for Trudeau to step down. And here we are, and it's turned out even to be a better scenario. It goes straight into it. And I do think that right now the tie is going to the Liberals because, first of all, we've talked about how efficient their vote is, how strong it can be when you take Atlantic Canada, Quebec, and Ontario, and you just have to have a little bit of a lead in those three regions. And suddenly you've got a huge seat lead because the vote is so efficient in those three areas. Whereas the Conservatives are so out of whack in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, and frankly, rural British Columbia as well. They're out of whack, 65%, 70% in some ridings, 80% in some ridings. That distorts your vote total. It distorts your capacity to win. So they're not able to win the majority government or even, I think that the tie has to go to the Liberals in this case, Zane. I think that the efficiency of their vote, the maturity of their candidates, and the opportunity of brand change, all are coming together at this one moment in time. And you called it Trump, tariffs, and the flag. I think there's something more structural to it. It's brand structure, and it's all coming together for them at the right time. Even when Harper says we're going to have to make this, the hurt for the country, it's kind of like even Stephen Harper agrees with the Liberals. It's not Stephen Harper agrees with Pierre Poilievre. It's structurally and brand-wise coming together in this one moment and this one opportunity.
I love that you're answering this. So by the way, I like that you're answering this about like vote efficiency. My intent with the question wasn't even about the electoral map, but I love that you went there and gave me your breakdown on that. But can I ask you the actual intent, which is if the question is about Trump, tariffs, wrapping yourself up in the flag, and the rhetoric is nearly identical, said different ways by two different people, Carney and Poilievre, that the tie on that, if they say the same things and it's about the same issues, Liberals have the edge. That Liberals ultimately, if those things are the questions and their policies are nearly identical without much massive digestible divergence, that the Liberals come out ahead.
Well, let's rephrase that. Let's take two brands. We'll call them brand A and brand B. And the brand that is the most liked, the most likable, the most familiar will win. And Pierre Poilievre is familiar, but he's not liked. So that brand, so in a situation where everything changes, everybody goes back to their home ports. Now, and I'm talking this way as though the Liberals are in first. They're still not in first.
No.
But their trajectory is unfucking believable, right? What ECO saw 2 weeks ago, now everybody's captured. And all those numbers are running up. And I'm quite sure that we've still got some distance to go before we really see what the Liberals' upper numbers really look like.
This next one is a bit clunky, but in it, I'm just trying to unearth something and see if you agree with it. And it's less of like a strategic statement that favors one side or the other. But let me go for a walk with me on this, okay?
Okay.
So the country wants change. That's the first part of the strategic statement. Pierre was the change to incumbent Trudeau, and now Carney is the change to a guy who's acted as the incumbent for the last 2 years in Pierre. And that favors Carney.
Right.
That's the strategic. That's a bulk. It's a clunky statement, but it's like the country wants change, and we've actually put a guy in position that's gotten rid of the PM as the change candidate, but he's been around for so long now as like almost nearly controlling the levers of change that people now see the new guy as being changed to the guy that they've already had 2 years of experience with, despite the fact he hasn't fucking controlled shit for 2 years. He's just expected to do so.
Right.
What I just think, do you agree with that statement? And do you agree, disagree, optimize?
Let me clean it up for you. We've been so disappointed. We've been so disappointed in the prime minister that we've been looking to the prime minister in waiting, Pierre Poilievre, to come and save us. But we've had so long of waiting for Pierre Poilievre to come and save us that now, when shit's real, when being saved is real, when being Canada is broken is now a real threat because someone is going to come in and fucking break us. With that, now that we're seeing that, we're going, hey, you know what? That prime minister in waiting wasn't that great guy. Now we're going to go on.
We had 2 years of him.
Yeah, he wasn't that
Do
great.
you feel like there's a group of Canadians who felt like we've already had 2 years of him just because of that lead being so consistently maintained, his presence being so omnipresent? Like, he was running the media cycle. And I'm not projecting a Pierre Poilievre loss here, but I am trying to test out this dynamic in some ways to say, is this something that could be going on? That because Pierre was so good at what he did, that he was so omniscient, he was so omnipresent everywhere, he was everywhere all the time, people feel like they've already gotten Pierre for a number of years. And now that they're now in the weirdest twisted way, they might be looking for change from the guy that they haven't necessarily even put into office yet.
He's the most effective. How many times have we said on this podcast? So funny. We had someone leave the Patreon because we were too hard on the Conservatives. And I'm like, we've called Pierre Poilievre the best communicator in politics. I don't know how many times. He is the best communicator. He was the best communicator in Canadian politics right up until about 4 weeks ago. And then he became the second best communicator in Canadian politics. Well, I'll tell you something. The chasm between number one and number two it's always big because people lift you up onto a pedestal when you're number one and they shit on you when you're number two. And Pierre Poilievre is for the first time experiencing being shit on.
And sorry, just to be clear, you're thinking Carney's taken over the pole position here?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Carney is the one I'm seeing.
Sure, like I agree. Like, and you know, and I know you're helping the guy, and I don't know if people know this, but I know Mark. But Carter,
do you know Mark?
By circumstance, right? Like in this rare sort of moment where the country might be looking for an adult in the room and someone who brings their blood pressure down due to perhaps his lack of lifting off the stage or his words or his presence. That sheer sort of like unique moment triangulation is why you're putting Carney in first. I don't know if I'd go that far. I still think I'd give it to Pierre, right? And I think there's many who watched that Canada First rally over the weekend and got what they needed from him as it relates to solidifying their vote and saying, yeah, he's still all about Team Canada. So I'm not sure I go that far, but I just want to try to get a sense of why you're suggesting Carney's taking the pole position here.
Well, I just think that Carney is the one who's got the media presence, controlling the message structure, forcing Pierre Poilievre to change his messaging. The same way that Pierre Poilievre was doing all of that to Justin and more to Justin Trudeau, right? You can tell who's in first by who's setting the agenda. And right now, Mark Carney is setting the agenda. Tell me I'm
like
wrong.
that. No, I don't. I mean, I won't disagree with you on that. I think there's something to be said there. I just think there's a very interesting dynamic. Here's the question. Would you be, as a Carney campaign, leaning in as a change candidate, or is that too cute? Is that too cute to call yourself change? Because it would almost have to accept the assumption that I'm putting, the strategic assumption I'm putting out on the table, which is that people are tired of the guy who never got the job, but was so good at communicating the fact that he's around and he wants the job. Is it too cute for the Carney campaign to communicate that they are change at this moment?
Yeah, it's not the right message. The right message, he's not change. He's not change, he's competence. Right? And you can argue the competence is the bigger change. Right? He's competent. Right? Oh, he's competent. That's a pretty good change. And it's a change away from both the existing prime minister and the prime minister in waiting that we've had for the last 2 years.
You got some energy to do a couple more?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you started early because we didn't have to wait for Corey's kids to go to bed. This is fantastic.
This is probably 5 episodes worth of content. We should probably price this at what is a Patreon member? We should probably price this episode at $100, even if it's public.
Yeah. Well, the patrons are stupid. They'll pay.
They'll
pay.
They're really dumb.
Yeah, it's like they can get half. Like they're paying $6 for sometimes twice as much content. Did they even complain that we didn't record on Thursday? I don't know.
Do I even care?
Do we even
That's the
care?
other thing. No.
Yeah, I know.
I don't. I for
We
one
don't. No.
Jagmeet Singh should make a deal with Mark Carney and or whoever wins the Liberal leadership to try to extend this election as long as he can. Agree? Disagree? You have to play the Jagmeet role here, right? You're probably reading the same polls that most of us will be reading soon from a national perspective, saying that he's not gaining, he's losing, and he's losing to the Liberals, and time is what he probably needs. So, ergo, make a deal, try to extend this. That's what he needs to do. Agree, disagree, optimize it for me.
I mean, the problem is that there is no one to do a deal with. The Liberals aren't going to accept a deal from Jagmeet Singh, not when they're up and the NDP are down, not when there's yet another opportunity to steal NDP votes and put them into the Liberal slot. But lend us your votes one more time so we can defeat Pierre Poilievre and the giant evil that is the Conservative Party of Canada. How many times have the Liberals played that fucking card? How successful have they been? And they get to do it one more time? Oh my God, this is amazing for the Liberals. There's no deal to be made. Now, if you're Jagmeet Singh, instead of trying to solidify and build your party from the ground up, which is what he should have been doing, for how long has he been leader, Zane? How long has he been leader?
This is his third? Since the 2019 election, I believe.
Yeah. So this is going to be his third election.
Yes.
And he hasn't built the party from the ground up. He's trying to find some magical thinking that's going to create a party that has structure and strength. But what he doesn't seem to realize is that every time he tries to create that magical thinking, he drives people either to the Conservatives or to the Liberals, because he's not doing the work that an Ed Broadbent did, the work that even Mulcair did. These were leaders that put their back into it and built from the grassroots up. And instead, we're seeing Jagmeet Singh try and build some sort of magical enterprise that is failing. And no one is going to do a deal with him. No one.
But should he try?
Sure. I mean, I'm gonna try all kinds of shit. Why not? Give it a whirl. I'm gonna try acting like I'm 22 years old. Why not?
Let me throw another one out there. Can we go to Ontario for a second?
I'd love it.
Merritt Stiles and Bonnie Crombie should make a deal to stop Doug Ford somehow, some way.
Why? You're Bonnie Crombie. You're the only one going up. Everybody else is going down. Bonnie Crombie is 14 points back right now, with enough time to form the official opposition. She may not be the premier, but she has the capacity. When everybody thought she was dead, everybody thought she was gone. She has the capacity to do, frankly, what the Liberals always do. They can just steal the NDP vote. There is no reason to do a deal. Instead, talk about stopping Doug Ford. That's how you do your deal. So Bonnie Crombie doesn't need to do any deal. And the NDP, my God, could they look worse across the nation? I mean, David Eby barely held on. And now they're just getting Wab Kinew. Thank God Wab Kinew is there. He's the only one who's making any difference in NDP politics across the entire nation.
Oh, I disagree with that. I think Eby is doing extremely well, especially in the last number.
Oh, you haven't seen his budget yet.
I've not seen his budget, but his development.
Speech from the throne is coming tomorrow, my friend.
Tell me this: can we stick with Ontario for a second? Because that one was quick, and I agree with where you went with there. Personally,
that was quick because it was so easy. Make them so easy for me.
So this is in line with the Trump conversation and the particular sort of line of attack of showing, not telling that's available on Trump for the Liberals against Poilievre. I want to try to port that to provincial politics. And the statement is there's more meat on the bone to attack Ford on his comments that he supported Trump, that he supported and wanted Trump to win. If you remember, this is a piece of audio that came out that said, of course I wanted the guy to win, or of course I supported the guy. My statement is there's more meat on the bone there. than Crombie or Stiles may realize as they try to pivot to healthcare, try to make it about a more domestic election. Agree, disagree? Optimize it.
Yeah, I mean, politics is about understanding who you're up against. Politics is about being able to read the room. Politics is about making the right decision under difficult circumstances, and Doug Ford can't. Doug Ford saw the same information that we saw that Donald Trump was a lunatic, and his behavior was to nonetheless expect Donald Trump to win, to hope that Donald Trump would win. Even though it was going to be worse for Canada, Donald Trump was saying it was going to be worse for Canada. Donald Trump is Doug Ford. It's not that Doug Ford is Donald Trump. He's just not.
Right, because
he's just not.
That lazy sort of like line of comparison is not it. The Liberals have a spot out there where they're using audio and clips where that kind of, the Ford statement comes up. And they're not, I think they've done it craftily, like they've done it like with nice craft. Like they've kind of said, this is who he wanted and this is what he suggested, sort of thing. And it kind of undercuts a core notion of why we're having this election to begin with.
It's not that Doug Ford is Donald Trump. It's that Doug Ford didn't recognize the dangers of Donald Trump.
Right.
Right? Oh, and someone should write that down. That was good.
That's not bad, Carter. I'm telling you, we can't do this when Corey's around.
You get into the 52nd minute and you're doing pretty good. That's some of the good shit.
Corey's around, he was just caught up in so many things. Just so many things. We've probably done 4 episodes worth. I said 5 a moment ago, but
I mean, you were exaggerating. You're using hyperbole.
Hyperbole. That's right. What is this episode called? The proroguement of,
I'll tell you something.
Of the Corey Hogan.
I don't know if you've noticed that Corey is not so sick to not text us.
Yeah, he's texting us during this thing. Probably wondering how it's going.
He wants the title to be H for Hogan, who is not here.
No, that's definitely not what it's going to be.
That's definitely not what we're going to do. We finally get to name an episode, Zane. We're not going to follow his fucking lead.
No, we're definitely not. Where do I want to go? I talked to you about Jagmeet Singh. I asked you about axe attacks. Ty goes to the Liberals. We talked about Carney.
Feels like we're done, Zane. Feels like we're done.
Can I throw one? I can get into all of Alberta, but maybe we do that when Corey's here next. So let me keep it federal outside of the 2 Ontario questions. Karina Gould should present like she's in second place in this leadership race. She's been kind of seen as the third place. The also-ran behind her are the true also-ran. So I don't mean to, you know what I mean, right? She's looked as like, should be great for the future. But it's a 2-horse race, and it's increasingly a 1-horse race. Karina Gould should really position herself as second place. And Carter, this may speak to your broader how you think of roll-up, how you think of positioning. This is one of the things I know you love talking about. So there's my statement for you about Gould presenting like she's in second place. Agree, disagree, optimize it for me. And we'll end on this note.
I seem to recall one time working on Tony Clement's campaign when he was running for the leader of the now Conservative Party of Canada. And I remember spinning that he was in second place. And then he came in third. But I don't see a problem with trying to with that type of spin. I mean, the distance between her and Chrystia Freeland doesn't feel like that much. And I know Karina was here in Calgary tonight. We didn't go because it's minus 400 outside. I hope she got a decent crowd. But, I think that there's nothing wrong with her spinning that she's in second place. And it's entirely believable, even if it's not probable.
Should she, second part of this question, should she be courting any of her fellow competitors in the top 3 to try to endorse her? Or anyone else in the race to try to endorse her? Like, no, I'm not talking about endorsements from cabinet. I'm talking about, like, drop out and endorse me. Is that something that moves the needle for her strategically?
Well, unless Chrystia Freeland dropped out, there is no one to ask. I mean, Ruby Dalla dropping out and endorsing you is Craig Chandler, endorsing Jim Prentice in 2004. It's just painful. Frank Bayless drops out and endorses you. What do you get? Another $1,400 donation. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. Karina needs to run like she's in second place. And who knows, in 3 weeks' time, maybe she is.
Carter, we've done it. We've recorded the episode of all episodes. We've done it without Corey Hogan. I feel
Hey,
good.
that was fun.
Can I check in? Can I check in? How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good. I don't feel great about posting this. I feel like there's a 50% chance we fuck
You don't know
up.
how to post this. Oh, that's fine. We don't do it for the people. Well, who cares
No.
about that?
This is
fine.
mostly just us.
They're irrelevant. Mostly just us. That's also another good episode title. Mostly just us. Because it's on multiple levels. Because
Oh, it works,
the normal
yeah.
show is
Okay.
mostly just us. I think I want to go with mostly just us.
Okay. Well, good news.
You know what?
because
Let's do
I wanted you
both.
to write.
Let's
I want
do
you to
both.
write the summary.
Mostly just
too.
us. Mostly just us. The proroguement of the Corey Hogan.
No, we
pretty
can't make it that long.
Why can't we make it that long?
There's rules.
Don't think there's rules. We'll make it happen. And with that, we'll leave it there. That's a wrap on episode 1848H of The Strategist. My name is Zane Velju. With me, as always, Stephen Carter. Not with me, Corey Hogan. And we shall see you next time.